a very different and alien environment. He was lonely and homesick.
I insisted on him leaving. He didn't want to. The last time he was here, he told his mother that he'd had enough and wanted to stay. "I miss you," he said. She told him, "Daddy wants you to go, and you mustn't upset him. He's spent a great deal of money on your education, and you must finish it."
Atta discovered a refuge in Hamburg, somewhere he could meet like-minded people from a more familiar Islamic world. Somewhere he could express his religious beliefs. Atta found what he was looking for in a nondescript building in a rough part of town. A place where young men from many Arab countries congregate. Only a small sign indicates the existence of the Al-Quds Mosque. Most mosques don't espouse extreme Islamic views, but some have attracted a radical element. When we visited the Al-Quds Mosque, we weren't welcome.
You are not allowed to stay there. You have to go out. It's waiting for you. Go.
There might be small groups in one or two mosques who are the representatives, the activists of a radical fundamentalist Islam, one with terrorist aims. And these would be the ones to seek out capable persons from among their fellow believers and to get them involved in their activities.
Mohammed Atta grew a beard, a sign of religious devotion, sometimes a sign of radicalization. Investigators believe he met other young men with extreme views at the mosque. It's thought he may have been directly recruited there by an agent of bin Laden. It was now that Atta first gave a sign he was thinking about his own death. He wrote an unusual will, witnessed by some of his friends at the mosque. He urged them not to mourn when he died.
"I don't want anyone to weep or cry or rip their clothes or slap their face, because that is an ignorant thing to do."
No women should attend his funeral. It was a sign of his growing obsession with sexual purity, a mark of the Islamic extremist.
"And the person who will wash my body near my genitals must wear gloves, so he won't touch my genitals."
He probably wanted to make it known, by writing this document, that he was going to commit an act in which he himself, in all likelihood, would die. It could have been a sort of psychological preparation carried out by a person committing suicide against the background of a mujahid, a warrior following the way of God.
The Al-Quds Mosque was the place where Atta spent time with two other young Arab men. They were all members of a terror group in Hamburg. They would all become pilots and crash their planes on September the 11th.
There is no justification for terrorism. How are terrorist groups founded? One person convinces another and another of a valid reason to kill himself, taking away the most precious possession a human being has through a strong belief. He stops thinking about himself.
The man who flew the second hijacked plane into the South Tower of the World Trade Center came from the United Arab Emirates. Marwan al-Shehi's family don't want to talk about the 23-year-old who left here to study in Germany. He brought shame on his conservative and religious country. The Al-Shehi home is in mourning, closed to all visitors.
There's nobody here?
Close the...
I just saw somebody come in.
No, that's not...
Police told us to leave. But we did find clues here to Marwan al-Shehi's personal journey. The son of a local imam, the boy was close to his father and deeply religious. He went to study in Hamburg on a government scholarship. But when his father died 2 years ago, al-Shehi became increasingly estranged from his family.
He was doing his studies in Germany. He was a normal individual till he went to Germany. It seems when he went to Germany, he met these radical fanatics who have a very different understanding of Islam than we do.
This is the voice of Ziad Jarrah, who sees the controls of the fourth plane.
Captain, I would like to order to remain seated. We have bomb aboard.
The young man who flew Flight 93 to destruction came to Hamburg from the Lebanon in 1997. He rented a room from a German landlady in a genteel suburb of the city. Unlike Atta, Ziad Jarrah was outgoing. Everyone was struck by his good looks, his sense of fun.
Did you like him?
Yes. He was a nice young man, really, and we got on well. He used to bring me back presents too when he went home. Sometimes we would chat when I was having tea, and I would invite him to have a tea with me.
Ziad Jarrah met a girl, a Turkish-German medical student. They lived together, to the surprise of his family back in Beirut.
We loved the girl. She's very nice. She loves Ziad. He was living with his girlfriend, and this is against radical Muslims' thinking and behavior and acceptance.
It was a serious relationship, yes. And they were well suited too. And they loved each other. I'm convinced of that.
Jarrah enrolled on a degree course to study aircraft engineering. He wanted to return to Beirut and open his own company. He also had an ambition to learn to fly. Jarrah was clever and popular and enjoyed a beer with his German friends. But within a few months of arriving in Hamburg, Jarrah began to change. He'd made new friends elsewhere in the city. A portrait painted by his landlady showed small but significant changes in his appearance.
At first I didn't notice anything. But later on he kept a small prayer mat in his room. And he grew a beard. And I poked fun at him because of it.
Jarrah had started spending time at the Al-Quds Mosque with al-Shehi and Atta. All of them now had beards. In the summer of 1997, Atta disappeared from his university for over a year. He didn't want to give any explanation. There were difficulties, he said, back home.
He told me that he was absent because there had been problems in his family.
We've now established that Atta travelled to Afghanistan, to the camps of Al-Qaeda. He was followed by al-Shehi and Jarrah. In bin Laden's camps, recruits were trained in terror tactics, using weapons, explosives and poisons. They learned forgery and how to carry out covert activities. Here it's believed Mohammed Atta revealed leadership potential and was singled out for special training. While Atta was in his camps, Osama bin Laden made his clearest ever threat to the United States. He considered all Americans legitimate targets of terror.
فلا تمييز بيننا بين الرجل لابس عسكري أو مدني بل هم جميعا نعتبرهم أهداف.
In August that year, bin Laden's men bombed the US embassy in Nairobi, killing 200 civilians, most of them African. 12 Americans died.
The US bombed bin Laden's camps but failed to kill him. Now we understand
bin Laden conceived his most devastating plan, a terror attack within his enemy's territory.